It was a strange journey with Feel the Love because people at the label, they were telling us, they was like, this is the #1 single. And like, we're still working in schools. I think we was just like finishing up at school, we was quitting our jobs. But it's a really strange feeling where we've never had any chart success at all, but yet these people are telling us it's a #1 record.
I think you guys basically sent me a demo.
Yeah, we
met on Feel the Love, in my studio in Tottenham, pre-meeting Amir. Kez had come up with this idea, Feel the Love, and he sang it as well, right?
I think it was one of those where, you're not really thinking about referencing anything. It was literally the chords, vocal, and drums, and what felt right to the mood. I don't know if you remember back to being a kid and remember that feeling you have when it's the last day and you got 6 weeks of freedom. It was that emotion I had. And I came home, started playing around with some chords, and then just started singing these words, which were, I said it's true, I can feel love, I can feel it too.
And we were in the studio in Tottenham and you played it, and we were all going crazy, throwing chairs around. Like Mikey was there, Locksmith was there, we were all going crazy. And at that point, that's when we took it to Amir, and we met Amir, and he worked on it.
The first time I heard the song, it was bump, 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 and then at the end of the song, like when it was finished and fading out, there was a little thing that he did as the song was fading out. That was sort of like the end of the tune. So I thought, bang, right in the middle of the song, where the verse is supposed to be. Essentially, that became the hook.
I remember first hearing that version that you sent to us, and I was like, what?
We put a trumpet solo in the middle of the song.
Why has he done that? I was like, hold on. But it's literally the magic of this record.
Every time we're on stage, that's the part people start singing back to.
Another a massive bit of this track was the middle 8 as well, although it's not at 8. But the breakdown, that's what we spent. We spent a good week at Music World getting into that middle 8, didn't we?
Yeah, give it a spin.
Gotta tell you, gotta tell you.
It's that festival moment, isn't it? It's just like the hands in the air moment.
One of the things that really, really makes this track shine, that's the blend of the bass and the organ. That marriage.
That's the...
Yeah, this is the Feel the Love song. As soon as that comes in, and the way that rumbles, the way you feel that on stage, the way that shakes everything. It sounds like a respace. At the time, I didn't even know how to make a respace. We've ended up using this on so many Rudy tracks.
Yeah, like so many. Like, where is it? There is Jungle Rumble. Let's open it up now. So it's in sampler. There you go.
Oh wow, it still works.
So you can hear the sample, and I guess that's why it's called the Jungle Rumble. If anyone's a Jungle fan,
If I take
Shy
that
Effects.
Yeah, exactly. I spoke to Shy Effects about it, and he was like, "That sound has gone on journeys, boy."
Yeah, like it's like your own take on
on
sampling an organ. Like I think the backing vocals.
That's another sing-along moment as
well. And we made them sound so fat. When we recorded them, we used the harmonizer Eventide 3000, I think it was.
H3000, yeah.
And there's a preset on there which adds like a third or adds a fifth, or I'm not too sure exactly what it does. Whatever it does, it just sounded so amazing, and we put them on the BVs.
So you can really hear it in this next bit. It's basically putting a chord underneath it, really.
And we'd been to the pub and met John Newman, right? And we knew what his voice was like. We're like, you know what? This is the moment. Let's get him to record the vocals, The vocal that he delivered, which took a whole day, from memory, like
even though there's only like 4 lyrics.
literally, I always remember his drive. I never forget that he was so driven, and he really did take this track to a new level for us.
I've found with a lot of soul singers is they cannot do the same thing twice. If you're not pressing record in time, you've lost it.
I literally, if I think about everyone we've worked with, I don't think anyone would have, like, it would have been the same hit it was with any other vocal apart from his. It just fitted perfectly.
Yeah.
Really basic vocal channel on there, Logic compressor on the SSL setting. Super basic EQ and a tape delay. All Logic. Crispy Logic quality. 2 compressors, one on the way out, just doing a bit of a limit on the output, make sure it doesn't clip too much.
You got certain moments as well at the end, like is where's that I can feel it bit. This is not. What?
I can feel it, can you feel it?
This is the guy from Settle in Yorkshire.
While we're here, we can talk about the crowd vocals a tiny bit.
You know I said it's true. Can you feel the love? Can you feel it too? I can feel it all. Can you feel it all? You know
So you can hear Piers the loudest, John Newman just behind him, and then we just get drowned out.
I'm a loud guy, I'm loud. That on stage, you'll see me at the front of the stage, just screaming.
Piers' moment.
With that's my. I come off the organ, you know, and I enjoy my moment with the crowd at that point.
Yeah.
Piers gets quite a few funny looks at me because he's still at the front of the stage, and I'm like, Piers, the organ's about to come in.
Organ.
Get back to
Yeah. You race back.
It's always a gamble with that first chord when it comes back in on the chorus as well.
Yeah.
Gonna get back in time.
Piers makes a game out of it though. I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
him, he's
it's-
like, he leaves it to like the last minute possible, and then he legs it
2
back,
seconds before
and
it
he
comes
just
in.
literally just goes like that and just prays every note.
I've buckled a few times doing that as well.
That became one of our calling cards as well. So many things on this track were the first time that we ever tried something like this. A gang vocal, you know, the organ became integral.
The middle eight, man, like the rudimental middle eight was really
Rudimental
birthed
middle-eight. The
on
brass.
this song.
This is the first time we fully put brass in. You know, the brass in the middle of the song. It became our thing.
On the chorus, we created this synth that cut through and really delivered the frequency that it kind of needed. You know, that gives it that the chorus. It gives the chorus that kind of fuzz, that energy.
Every single part from the original is still in there, not sonically. I knew they weren't the best sounds, and I knew that they needed to be replaced or like they could sound better. So I think it was just great to see the evolution of where it started to where it got to.
I can imagine it took some getting used to though, because I remember the first time you guys came to the studio and you heard it through the speakers. It was a little bit quiet for a while. It was a bit,
You know what?
it was a bit of
I
a
think
kind of
that's-
awkward quietness
I think-
for a while. It's like,
Just taking it all in.
Every point, like Amir made the perfect decision you could have made. Like, and
thanks guys.
no, but you had a lot
Yeah, it's like
of
all
good stuff. Don't get me wrong.
great ingredients.
But then you literally like, okay, Jungle Rumble, boom. I've never heard anything as big as that bass sound, and we've used it like on nearly every other track since, right? I Will For Love. Listen to I Will For Love. It's got the same Jungle Rumble, that poking through, and it's like, you know,
yeah,
really,
go
really
through our first album. Probably on every other track, if not every track, you'll hear Jungle Rumble.
Jungle Rumble, man.
And probably House Wired as well. Massive.
Yeah.
All right, so should we get into the drums?
Yeah, let's talk about drums.
I use a sampler called Geist. It was just about experimentation, chopping up different parts of different loops, layering them on top of each other to create the overall sound. I like to use a tail from an 808, and then I've used the head, as in the attack part of another kick drum, to create this 808 AM thing. So it's probably 2 or 3 different kicks there, covering that whole spectrum. And then there's the main kick and snare, which is not so subby, more lower mid. It's a very fat snare, very of that time as well. But it's just
like that. The kind of the DMB,
the classic DMB kind of vibe. Yeah.
but it's heavily compressed.
Heavily compressed, and again, it's a mixture. What you're hearing there is the attack of one snare, the body of another snare, a white noise behind it to give it a little bit of splash.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time aligning these just to make sure I got maximum fatness out of it, and all of the waveforms are nicely aligned. Yeah, so the kick and snare. And then this would be a loop somewhere. It's a mixture of different loops that have been put together to make chugga. Chugga, chugga, chugga. Chugga, chugga, chugga. That's the chugga. On the master, one thing that is a hugely underrated plugin, and Logic still honestly has the best version of it, and I use all sorts of different ones now, but the Logic envelope shaper is really integral to getting your drums to cut through a mix. And I really haven't found anything else that can do it the same way as this. Along with a creative filter, which we're using to sort of bring the drums up and down. Then, you know, we've got to give a shout out to the Major Tom's egg shaker. Right, so it's actually not an egg shaker. This is an important part of Major Tom's history. It's a McDonald's Happy Meal toy. And it's a little toy that has this kind of sand inside it. And for some reason, it's the most beautiful sounding, smooth shaker. All of our hits have had the Major Tom's shaker on it. In fact, if it hasn't had Major Tom's shaker on it, it might not be a hit. And we might drop you. So
Play it.
Put it on your track.
So big up Happy Meal from me.
Big up Happy Meal. And so that's been chopped up, but that's the reason why this is a hit, is because of that magical tool.
You get the shaker right, and
Yeah.
everything else will fall into place. One thing we need to quickly talk about.
And it nearly basically split the band up.
Right, I think I was on the team. This is too EDM and too dark for us. We're a soulful electronic music band. I was on my high horse, like. I'm so glad we kept it in. 'Cause now, I swear, I love it now.
Yeah, on stage, there's 2 points on stage where I just look at you and go, wow, wow, wow.
There's been some hairy moments over the years where we really disagreed on really small things like that. But at the time, they feel really big.
So there was this whole debate on whether the vocals after the build, what's gonna happen? So that was one option, to go directly into the vocals, and then the other option, crowd's
So
going
listening
nuts.
now, it's obvious which is the one, but at that time it wasn't.
That little vocal delay.
The vocal delay is banging.
Yeah.
Did you do that as well?
Yeah.
What?
That's actually a pitched up version of John. So it's like, no, I see. You can hear it's a bit more squeaky.
Key.
I have to, just to be real, at the time, this wasn't really being done, in terms of like pop music, the landscape, this did change a lot of things in the way songs were arranged, in the way features were done, in the way live instrumentation was used, and in the way videos were done. So with this, we were learning it as we were going along, but not realizing that we were changing the landscape of pop music.
Yeah, and I think
had so many domino effects, and you can see the influence of it now.
Yeah.
With the way people use features and tracks, using 2 or 3 features. The features game is like a big thing now. At the time, it wasn't. This was like a difficult thing for our labels and for the business people to get their heads around as well. It's like, no, wait, who's on this? Like, it was a bit of an issue that we wanted to have different features on pretty much every song.
Yeah.
It was an issue that we wanted to have an instrumental section. It was an issue that we were doing a drum and bass song with brass on it in the middle of the song.
And I think also at this point, like DJ Fresh had just had like the first D&B #1 in D&B had been around since like late 90s, jungle early 90s. D&B had been around for almost 20 years, basically.
Yeah, Chase and Staters, Fresh, they were coming out, they had...
Fresh had the first #1, like a couple months before us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a #1, and it was like, all of a sudden, like DMB had finally got a kind of chart moment, like 10, 15 years after it was even about. So it really was an amazing time for not only like electronic music, drum and bass, but also, the feature game and producers being able to like chart with unsigned features, like Disclosure was coming through at that point.
It was a perfect storm, really.
Yeah, it was a great time. There was a lot of people coming through at that time, you know.
The Olympics were on that year as well, so this song, am I right? The Olympics were on?
It was,
so it was a real amazing feeling in the UK. This became an unofficial theme of the Olympics. It got used in the Olympics games as well, but this was our, really hopeful, uplifting anthem for the Olympics. The live instrumentation really fed into that, it being a carnival atmosphere kind of vibe. After this became our sound. It was like, okay, we know we can put brass, we know we can put live instruments on a D&B-inspired track and not be shy about doing something that isn't just hard drum and bass or isn't just this, it's a pop track, it's a track that crosses over. This really changed our lives, but, I'd say, respectfully to other musicians as well, I think it really did change the kind of pop world for a bit as well. It definitely had a big impact on the way things were done after this. Not that we did it intentionally, but it's what happened.
The electronic music just like stormed the charts around.
Completely,
and it was a fun time to be in, just like, I remember being on tour with Disclosure, Magnetic Man, we
were part of this wave
Fresh,
of like
and
musicians coming through.
It's been such a staple ever since,
It was just a perfect storm at that time. And the video as well was another story, but that really was important to us as well. That set the tone for Rudimental, and we still use that as a reference today. Really, this became the Rudimental sound.
Changed our lives.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun for us to open up a project from literally 10 years ago. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And keep it locked, this is Point Blank.
I can feel it.